Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we've got the pleasure of watching SlashCrasher play in the tier 10 Swedish tank destroyer, the Strv 103B, and there's a few reasons why I'm really excited to commentate on this replay. Number one, I finally get to talk about the 103B again, which has to be one of, if not the most novel tanks that has gone into the game, at least since the Bat-Chatillon and the AMX 50B, which brought the whole new autoloader mechanic. This vehicle, well obviously the tier 8, 9 and 10, bring a whole new hydropneumatic suspension that when you enter the siege mode just like this allows you to depress the tank to be able to re-engage vehicles at either plus 11 degrees or minus 11 degrees. Gosh, a tier 10 tank destroyer with 11 degrees of gun depression, rather killer, hey. And also, one of the reasons why I'm thrilled to be talking about this replay here is because SlashCrasher has been a subscriber to this channel for years. I noticed that he's liked a lot of my really old videos. So SlashCrasher, thank you so much. I guess you've watched a bunch of my replays, and now it's my pleasure to watch one of yours and to commentate on it. So thank you so much, buddy. So the Strv 103B has made quite an impact on what replays, at least with regards to, shall we say, extreme damage games, right? The kind of damage games where you start to go above 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, even sometimes 10,000. This vehicle has been posting very high scores. And I think the last vehicle that I really noticed did that was when they put the Griller into the game as the WT Alfie 100 replacement. Now, of course, as the Griller was a WT Alfie 100 replacement, a lot of people were playing that on day one, as they all had them in their garage and they wanted to take them out for a spin. However, the Strv 103B being a brand new tier 10 tank destroyer, if you wanted to have the luxury or the privilege of playing this tank, then you would have had to have saved up, I guess, 600, possibly 700,000 free experience. Now, I have no idea if SlashCrasher has done that, or alternatively if he's just been playing his Swedish tank destroyers a lot in the last few weeks, but either way, he is going to fully show us what the capabilities are of this vehicle in this game. However, it's not just about SlashCrasher, it's also about his buddy in the Bat-Chatillon, who is called Tartelipu. Tartelipu, I'm sure I'm going to destroy that name. Anyway, what is this vehicle and why is it special if you didn't watch any of my previews on the tank? Well, the vehicle has the second highest DPM in the game. I'm still confused. Wargaming at one point was saying that it was going to have about a 7.89 rate of fire, but now when you look at it in the garage, it actually has a rate of fire of 8.57, which is truly monstrous considering you're still hitting with this 105mm, which although it's a low caliber gun, it still does 390 alpha damage, a lot like when you're using it on the tier 10 mediums. Also, the shell velocity is absolutely fantastic, 1,500 meters a second, and it has 308mm of standard APCR penetration. And if you choose to use the premium rounds on this tank, then you have 350mm of penetration. So all this adds up into the Strv 103B being one of the most dangerous snipers. And that's without also talking about the accuracy that this vehicle has in the siege mode, which, unless Wargaming have changed it since they last updated us, and there's no way to see statistics in the siege mode as far as I can tell, is 0.25 dispersion at 100 meters, making this the most accurate vehicle in the game, even surpassing the Griller in its sniping capabilities, or at least, shall we say, being able to thread the needle at long range and be able to take down vehicles at exceedingly long distances. You know, those kind of cupola shots like we saw just earlier on the right when he was shooting at that poor WZ-111-14 through the windows, and in the tiniest little shots that in other tank destroyers you'd be afraid to fire, because you think, okay, now I've got quite a long reload and the 111-14 is going to come around the corner and put a shot into me. Although the vehicle does have some substantial armor, it's not very thick. It's only effective because it's so well angled. The tank has 40mm all along the lower plate, and so that means that any gun that is 121mm in caliber and higher is going to overmatch, just as we saw the 130mm shell from the WZ-111-14 do a few minutes ago. Also, this 40mm of armor extends over the beak of the tank, and so if you do have a 121mm caliber gun and you're shooting at these tanks, just shoot it on the beak and you should be able to murder it. However, on the top of the vehicle, news does start to get slightly better. On the upper front of the top of the tank, it is 60 millimeters thick, and at the rear on the left and the right, it is 50. However, that 40 millimeters of frontal armor does extend directly behind the gun and also above the gun, and so again you can use that to be able to overmatch the vehicle. However, if you don't have a 121 millimeter caliber gun, for example, just like the 105 on this tank, or alternatively on the Tortoise, the 120 millimeter that you can use on the Tortoise, that is the highest DPM tank in the game, you are never going to be able to pen this vehicle unless you hit the cupola right on top of the tank that we can see here. And from the front, that is a very challenging shot to make. And when a Strv 103B driver can get at these long-range engagements and play the supporting role, I just think it has to be the greatest sniper in World of Tanks. And if that's not enough, also, the vehicle does go backwards exceedingly fast at 45 kilometers an hour when the vehicle is in travel mode, and it goes forwards at 50 kilometers an hour. So there's not really too much difference between going forwards and backwards in this tank. So as we're going to see later on in the replay, when you do have to run away from your opponents, you can keep your thickest armor towards them. Remember that armor that if they do hit a well-angled surface of it, is very likely to ricochet. So SlashCrasher tracks the AMX CDC on the enemy team here. Beautiful. Now he gets to... What? That didn't look like 0.25 accuracy to me. Oh well, a little bit of RNG dispersion coming in there to save the CDC momentarily before his Batchat buddy does shut him down. So unfortunately there's a type for the Type 4 Heavy. There are two Tier 10 heavy tanks descending upon him, and the Leopard prototype finishes off the Type 4 Heavy, but that should allow SlashCrasher to be able to put a few more rounds into them. He needs to soften them up a little bit more before he leaves. Now he's firing his premium APCR rounds here, I guess, to try and take out the IS-7 on the enemy team. 350 millimeters of penetration is more than enough to even go through some of the, what you would assume would to be a shot catch on the IS-7, like the spaced armor on the side. And here we go. Look at this. Oh no, why did you have to stop, SlashCrasher? He goes back into the siege mode, I guess because he wants to try and shoot at the Centurion. I thought we were finally going to get to see this tank going backwards at 45. Come on! He's leaving the siege mode, he's entering the siege mode. He auto-aims at the... well, he doesn't auto-aim, he reacts and tries to put in a good shot against the T-125, but doesn't quite manage to hit it. And now he's going to decide to get out of here. And look at this! This is the tank going backwards, obviously, because the gun doesn't move and it's at the front of the vehicle over here. 45 kilometers an hour backwards. That is not a slow tank, that is the same speed as the M48A1 going forwards. And so that means that if people were to shoot at him right now as he was running away, he would have all of his effective armor, and as I mentioned, it would take 121mm caliber shells or higher to hit the lower plate to be able to pen it, and anything hitting the top part, unless we're starting to talk about 152mm caliber shells like you would get on the Object 268, is going to be able to ricochet. So can you believe that SlashCrasher is already up to 8,700 damage? Well, I guess it isn't that hard to believe when you think that it has the second highest DPM of the game. So I like what he does there. I like what they're doing, this pair, this combo with the Batchat at the moment. They decided that if they stay there, then they're going to get flanked, and with the Batchat now being a one-shot for most of the enemy team with 257 hit points, what they need to do is they need to try and keep the engagement at long range, where they can use the Batchat's view range advantage, and obviously the Strv just sniping advantage at long range to be able to whittle down their opponents, hopefully, especially the larger, more healthy tanks like the T-125 on the enemy team. Unfortunately, that means that they're going to have to sacrifice the T-34, but I guess that is some kind of collateral damage. Now, one thing I also liked is that the way that SlashCrasher uses some of the bush locations on this map, he obviously has a very firm grip on the different locations that you can use on Malinovka to try and catch people out of position and then use the tank's long-range advantage. The way that he stopped in that bush location to be able to see if somebody had pushed on top of the cap circle to get the initial ambush off was good, but unfortunately nobody was there, so he's going to have to try and find an alternative approach. Now luckily this is an encounter, which means that it's going to take 200 seconds for the enemy to be able to cap if they only have one tank inside the cap circle. It's going to take them an awful long time to be able to do that. But hopefully through setting up in this bush they're going to be able to spot something in there. Now, Wargaming significant. Look at that aim time. That's just crazy inside the siege mode. Basically no aim time on this tank, and it doesn't matter that the dispersion's a little higher now once you fired, because it's super accurate again and ready to go. So he puts 2 rounds into the T-34, dealing 828 damage to him before you can blink. And the T-34 stops momentarily, and that is all that SlashCrasher needs to be able to secure his 4th kill of the game, putting his damage total up that we've seen to 9,879, and the amount of kills that they have secured between them now up to 9. Some great work between these 2 players here. Look at that. That is where the Strv 103B would have probably been in a nightmare scenario. A rather nippy tier 9 French medium tank such as the AMX-30 would have been able to get its side and pick it apart, because even though its track traverse is rather nice and it's quite mobile, its side armor is absolutely awful. And if it gets tracked once, if not twice, or actually I just noticed the enemy would have to track SlashCrasher 3 times to be able to get him on the side, because he does take 2 repair kits in this tank. I guess that is a very clever and sensible thing to be doing in this vehicle, because if you do get tracked, you can't even be effective in the siege mode, because there is absolutely no traverse on the gun outside of using the hydraulics of this tank. So SlashCrasher and Taitelipu manages to catch the T-125 out in the open here, and this is what an auto-loading French medium tank and the highest DPM vehicle in the game can do to a T-125. Now but is he going to be able to finish him off? Just tracking shots, there we go. Right into the upper hull, but now down to 2 remaining APCR rounds, and after that it's high explosive. But how often do you have to do over 10,000 damage in a game? I just love the work that this platoon is doing right here. 5 kills apiece. If they can kill the last 2 remaining tanks, and I just noticed one of them is called Dark Peppy. I think Tanya's in the other room. Hopefully that's not some kind of alter ego. If they do manage to pick apart these last 2 remaining vehicles, then they are going to be getting a crucial contribution medal for 12 kills. But they're starting to run out of time. 2 minutes and 40 seconds left on this game. They're going to have to hurry up. But they also have to be rather careful, because obviously the Batchat here is the eyes for SlashCrasher. Of course, when he sets up and activates his binoculars, he does have exceedingly good view range, but it's the flexibility of the vehicle to be able to get into position to do so. Luckily, the Batchat does not lose all of his hit points. It looks like the Centurion not able to roll high there and move 250, and he's left on 4 hit points, and that's a great result, because that means that they've now still got the vision to be able to go after Dark Peppy, the Leopard prototype on the enemy team. And 4 hit points will be enough for the Batchats to still be very dangerous. Now expect that the Batchat will go on a reload right now, or maybe he's just going to leave it with a couple of rounds in his vehicle. Where will this Leopard prototype be? Most likely not pressuring the cap circle. If I was the Leopard prototype, I would either be situated in this location, or alternatively making my way up and around here to try and get some cross shots. A lot like where the T-125 was. Probably using the position here. So right now, is it Taitelipu? Oh my goodness, is on a top gun, and SlashCrasher is on 5 kills. He enters the siege mode, tries to set up. Where is this Leopard prototype? Towards the left, towards the right, leaves the siege mode and advances because he doesn't want to allow Taitelipu to get caught out in the open. The Batchat, very vulnerable in this kind of position, but they've only got 1 minute and 10 seconds. There's the Leopard prototype getting the ambush. SlashCrasher auto-aim, sets up the siege mode, and the auto-aim does the rest, shutting down the tier 9 German medium tank on the enemy team, securing that crucial contribution medal for his platoon. And oh gosh, a double top gun. It doesn't really get any better than this for a platoon in World of Tanks at tier 10. So what an incredible round of World of Tanks here for SlashCrasher and Taitelipu. They have some serious synergy, so much so that they get a crucial contribution medal at tier 10. Both picking up a top gun for 6 individual kills. SlashCrasher also gets a Confederate, showing you just how many vehicles he shot on the enemy team, damaging 13 out of the 15 players that were inside this game. He also gets a Defender medal for interrupting the cap circle against the T-34, and unsurprisingly a high caliber for 10,432 damage dealt, while Taitelipu picked up 5,725 damage and quite a lot of spotting, nearly 3,000. I guess he might have been spotting for SlashCrasher, especially when they were both on top of the hill at the end there. And irrelevant of the premium APCR rounds fired here, 20,000 credits profit, not too bad at tier 10. So SlashCrasher, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel for so many years. It was my pleasure to watch one of your replays this time, and congratulations to you on a truly mammoth game showcasing what the brand new tier 10 Swedish tank destroyer is all about. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like. It really helps the channel out. And if you're watching this video on release on Sunday, come along tonight. I'm going to be streaming again after my Christmas break on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby, where there's going to be some 5 times experience drama, I can tell you that. I'm going to be playing the UDES, the tier 8 Swedish tank destroyer, and I'm going to see if I can get to the Emil tonight from the Leo, so I can finally start to figure out what the Swedish auto-loading heavy tanks are all about. And so if you want to see that, there's a link in the description, and I'll also pin one in the comments. And talking about the comments, let me know what you guys think about the tier 10 Swedish tank destroyer. Do you think it looks absolutely crazy? Are you currently trying to grind your socks off to be able to get one? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.